What's been everybody? This is Ray Rawlins from the Ray Rawlins Network, which will soon be undergoing changes, man. This is the place where we talk cartoons and we damn near do it daily. I'm joined by Mr. Alex Payne, and today we're giving you guys our first impressions, first thoughts of the series, the Netflix series, shall I add, Big Mouth. Of course, in these segments, we review the first episode, which, funny enough, is called Ejaculation. So, Mr. Alex Payne, before we get into our first impressions, because boy, I don't know, this is an interesting one, but give us the episode breakdown. What happens?
Well, I'll give a series breakdown first. The series is basically about a group of teenagers. It's
I
basically
wouldn't call them teenagers. They're not
no,
teenagers.
no,
They're
teenagers.
preteen teens.
Well, they're 12, 13 in that neighborhood. But it's basically it's just an honest look at puberty. Really, that's just what it is pretty much. Like, each of the episodes have something to do with puberty and all that other shit. So, I'm out of breath. This episode is about, I guess you could say Nick and Andrew have a sleepover.
And they're best friends for context.
Yeah, they're best friends for context. And, Nick happens to see Andrew's dick, which I will point out, they zoomed in on that bitch. They made sure they wasn't just, they didn't imply it. They zoomed in on that bitch. They made sure you know what he was looking at. So, Nick starts feeling insecure about his own, growth and development because he's not going through puberty yet and his dick's still little and he ain't got no hair. So he axes out, after getting advice from the ghost in his attic, he axes out the most beautiful girl at school to go to the dance with him. She says yes, but she didn't go with him. And when they got to the dance, she was not into him. So, he gets embarrassed and him and Andrew eventually work out their shit. But this episode introduces you to the hormone monster, which is pretty much like, I guess, a visual representation of the hormones that go on in your body when you're going through puberty. And his name is Maurice, which they didn't say in this episode.
Huh. It's funny because I kind of thought that was its name. Because you can hear it has somewhat of like an accent. Kind of sounds, would you say it sounds Mexican, Puerto Rican? Well, then I guess Maurice wouldn't be a Mexican name.
I don't know I wouldn't really say it even has an accent, really.
Really? I kind of thought it does. I'm not even going to lie to you.
I don't feel, well, maybe. I don't know. I didn't really think about it.
Funny thing is, this cartoon takes place in New York, which it took me a minute to figure out. Like, oh, cool. But
I never really figured that out.
I will tell you this, though.
Because you went to this blind, man. You went to this episode blind. You didn't have any clue what the show was about. And
I really didn't.
Full of dick.
I will tell you this.
I'm sure that's not the first time you got a face full of dick.
I don't know why. I don't know what's your whole deal with these fucking gay jokes. Are you projecting something or what? Like, I don't get it.
I mean, if I made jokes about you liking pussy, that wouldn't be really funny at all. Like, would it? I mean, come on.
I mean, I don't see the funniness in you making gay jokes either. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But I'll ask you, the one person watching in the chat, what do you think? Anyway.
Gotta make that one person reference.
Listen, that's what we do here on the Ray Rawlins Network. But anyway, I will tell you this. The whole series, I seen this trend a couple times on Twitter. I'm not even going to lie. I seen this trend a couple times. And I thought it was like a movie. I really did think it was like a movie because as soon as you brought the name up to me, Big Mouth, I was like, yo, what is... I seen that trend. So the name obviously was in my head. I didn't think that this was going to be what it was about. So I tell you, I was definitely taken aback by it. I was like, whoa. But not in a bad way, though. Not in a bad way. I thought it was a good show. I'm not even a stunt. It was a really good show. But what are your first impressions?
I think it's definitely one of those things. I think this is definitely one of those shows where you're either going to like it or fucking hate it. Like, that's... You're either going to really like it or really hate it. I mean, even if you ignore the fact that, all this is revolved around children.
I mean, but see, you would think originally that would be the one thing that make people, like, shake their head about it. But no, realistically, it's not really that bad. Like you said, it's giving an honest look at what they're going through, honestly. Because
Yeah.
you'd be a fool. Like, kids think about that shit. We should
No,
know. We're
yeah.
very close to that. We're close to that age group. Well, 10 years. 10 years off. But,
Yeah.
we still have memories of that shit.
The funny thing
But,
is, because like when you really think about it, because I get well. First of all, my first impression was to go off of that. Like I was kind of surprised, especially like now. You wouldn't expect the show to be so raw about that shit involving children.
you wouldn't.
Again,
No, you
again, they
wouldn't.
zoomed in on the naked dick. They zoomed in on his dick. It wasn't like they said maybe whatever. They zoomed in on his dick.
He said, "Vroom." No, it said, "Look at this." I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. But I'll tell you this.
Look at this
I didn't
13-year-old
expect.
dick.
I didn't expect that coming from a Netflix series. I expect that come more so from a Cartoon Network, but definitely not a Netflix series. But I guess we're past the point of first impressions. Let's talk about
Yeah.
some moments, man. Let's talk about some moments.
The moment that
I'll let you go first.
the moment I could think of immediately, and this isn't in chronological order though, I guess, but like the moment I think of immediately, because I didn't notice this, because I watched this episode before, and I didn't notice this the first time, but like when the, when Andrew was in the friggin' in the locker room, that's what it is, in the locker room, and he saw the friggin' black guy and the white guy turn into two giant dicks, and the white guy was trying to talk, but he was in the foreskin, and he pulled the foreskin down and talked. That was kind of. Honestly, I would say, because like I said, I watched this episode twice. I feel like I enjoyed the episode a lot more now than I did the first time I watched it. Like the first time I watched it, I thought it was cool, but I feel like this time it made me laugh a lot more. The friggin' the moment when homeboy was jacking off in the bed next to his friend was kind of funny to me. Just so cold with it.
Hey, that's how. I guarantee you, he's not the first one to do that shit. I guarantee you. And I'll tell you one thing: that whole weird monster thingy. Like I said, that thing's a
The
fucking creep.
hormone monster.
That thing is Mr. Maurice is a creep, yo. Talking to him in class and whatnot. It's crazy because, like I said, we're not far off from that like age gap. But it just makes you think like, boy, I sure remember them memories. I didn't have no monster talking to me, but it's just being in health class and shit or whatever class you in. Man, you know what? I gotta motherfucking work something out with this shit. I can't. But I tell you one thing though. This episode definitely did have its moments, especially like nearing the end where he's dancing with the girl and whatnot. And then
Oh yeah, and he come in his pants.
Yeah. And then he's like, "Oh man, that's the most I ever made." And then, oh shit, my phone. And he just gets suctioned into the toilet.
Yeah, and the
crazy,
sperm
man.
and the sperms get pissed at him because they ain't in a pussy.
Right. Listen, as long as they don't touch that big giant brown rock, they're good.
But they're heading for that big rock, man. They're heading for it.
Yeah. They're just gonna smack right into it, and it's not a rock; it's some squishy, I'm sure. I'm kind of shocked, like how. I mean, granted, it's cartoon logic, but how do you fit in that toilet? How does his ass fit in that little toilet?
I don't know, man. Especially because like that doesn't seem to have any real context of anything. Because it wasn't like a dream scene or nothing. Like he just legit went in the toilet.
and then obviously Nick and Andrew obviously make up, and Nick gives him his pants and whatnot. So I mean that's a good ending.
A funny moment to me was when when Jay kept trying to do all the magic tricks and all of them was pretty much no selling the fuck out of him.
Oh yeah, every teenager has that moment, man. Every teenager has that one moment where their friends just basically no sells them on whatever. Like whether it be
so
magic
pissed.
tricks or
Fuck
whatnot.
you guys.
And it is crazy. Like I think the most funny part about this episode is when like you said they finally see, or Nick finally sees Andrew's dick, and he's like, "Oh man, I ain't looking," and then they try to basically play it off like, "Oh yeah, I didn't see nothing, da da da, woo woo," and then he basically asks his parents about that shit later, like, "Oh man, he's more hairy than me," and it's a stupid series, man. It's a stupid series.
Nick Dad sounded like he had some experiment in his days.
Oh yeah, that's another thing too. He definitely did. He definitely did, because he was talking about it again a little bit later on. And he got extra poetic and descriptive with it. Straight up Robert Frosted that shit. So that's definitely something to keep in mind, man. Nick's dad, boy, he's suspect. He's sus, 100%.
And him and his their
But
parents fucked for 12 hours.
listen, I don't know about the dad, but I know the mom. Like she something else. She definitely something else. She is definitely something else.
I will say this to go to your comment about like it bit. I would say, because you know me, I friggin' know I hate dumb shows.
Right,
But I think,
of course.
because I've seen a few episodes past the first ones, and I think the show gets less dumb as it goes on. I'll say that. It really does. It
Right.
doesn't be. It
Well,
doesn't be
the first episode usually ain't as good as the rest of them.
Yeah. No, you're right. It usually isn't. They gotta try to give you a feel for the show, so they try to jam a lot of what it is into your face, and then it's funny. It's probably not the best description when you're talking about a show that had a bunch of dicks in it, but they jammed it in your face, and you had to take it and enjoy it.
Well, you only had one, so what you gonna do? But let's get into the final review. What are your thoughts?
I thought it was a pretty good episode. I think it's a pretty decent start for the show, honestly, because a lot of shows have like very lackluster first episodes, in my opinion. I mean, shit, even Rick and Morty had a lackluster first episode. So
right.
I think like this first episode was surprisingly decent. So I think I'm gonna have to give it a solid 8 out of 10.
Ooh, okay. That's a high score. That's a high score. I'll tell you that. That's definitely a high score. I would probably say the same thing too. Like the story aspect of it, very good. Honestly, I really enjoyed it. Especially handling the premise of what it was. They did that very well. They made you laugh during the show, and whatnot. And they made you look at the situation in a serious note, in a sense. Like, granted, like you said, there's some comedy in it, but they handle the situation of this episode in a very serious manner. If you ask me.
Yeah, and some of the other episodes, they get very, I guess, and that's the thing. The show can be very educational at the same time too.
Oh yeah.
Like, so I mean, because it doesn't show so much in this episode, but like in other ones, they get very educational with it, like what's going on. But yeah, so they're, like I said, it's just a really honest look at puberty. No bullshit.
Right. Yeah, pretty much. And it, obviously has a whole bunch of good laughs in there. So story-wise, like I said, pretty damn good. They handled the situation very well, considering what it was. They had that good line between comedy and seriousness. So I'm gonna actually agree with you. I'm gonna say 8 out of 10 for sure. So there y'all got it. That's our first review, first impressions of Big Mouth, episode 1 on the Ray Rawlins Network. My name is Ray Rawlins. His is Alex Payne. We will see ya when we see ya. Peace.